be clean to be reconciled to Elohim. So once it's clean and becomes reconciled to Elohim, that soul awaits again to come back to earth and reanimate that same flesh, because now that flesh has paid the penalty for death, for its sin. The penalty for sin was death. So that flesh has died, and it's paid that penalty, so it doesn't need to pay that penalty anymore. So now when the spirit returns to the flesh, it now reanimates that flesh into a glorified body, not a temporal body anymore, but an eternal body. Because now the soul, the Spirit of God, which is life, has now taken control of the flesh. So that's how the believers are going to be born again and live forever and ever and ever. Now, what we believe about people like Hitler and Stalin and Mao and all of these evil people throughout history who just refuse to yield anything to Yahweh or do any mitzvahot, we believe that those people they've went to the other end of that spectrum. Instead of trying to go from black to white, they've been going the other direction to black. So when they die, those people basically, they're so negative, they have so much negative energy, and that portion has been so corrupted that the Father just takes that portion of himself and just disperses it. And it's confined here on the earth. That's why we believe the earth continuously grows more evil through every generation, is because that evil soul has just been that. Because if you believe Einstein's theory of relativity, all energy is still here. Every atom that was created in the beginning is still here today. So that energy is now released, but it's released in evil. If you can imagine like a black rain, and it's just coming down on the earth from all these evil people who have died, which is corrupting the earth more and more and more until the Father comes and burns the whole earth with a fervent heat and recreates everything again. So that's, I believe that concept, and Rabbi Friedman tells that story a whole lot better than I do. I suggest you go listen to him if you want that perspective. But that perspective does not differ, in my mind, in any way from what Scripture says. So, in fact, it makes a few things a little bit more clearer to me when I really start throwing that concept of Dante's Inferno and the fairy tale heaven away. What do you do? I mean, what replaces that? Because there has to be something. So how do we reconcile that with Scripture? And I think that that whole concept of creation and the way Elohim created us reconciles that fairly well.
So is it the souls that go into the lake of fire then at the end? And then
no, it's the
earth is
it's
cleansed,
the flesh. Because that flesh.
Well, what I mean, the souls enter in the flesh, and then those bodies. So, just like ours, when ours return to us, and we have the glorified bodies, theirs return to theirs, and they get tossed into the lake. Is that kind of how that works out, or
that flesh and soul gets thrown into the lake of fire, smoked, and that's where
ashes.
The evil energy comes from. That's why the Father destroys the earth at that point and creates everything new.
I see.
Because that's the final judgment. That's after that, it's going to be eternity with Him forever.
There will be no more sin.
Anybody else have anything? Huh? All right. So hopefully we've made that short enough and confusing enough that I don't keep you talking for about 50 more years. Alana, did you have something?
You said that when Yeshua comes back, Jerusalem, I believe, it will be as heaven. So does that mean that when he was here walking on earth, then was that at that point in time heaven?
Well,
the kingdom was here.
To me as a believer, if I was in His presence in any way, that would be heaven to me. Okay?
Yeah.
So, but when He returns again, it literally is going to be heaven, because He's going to put an end to sin once and for all. While He was here the first time, sin still remained. So, in the coming weeks, we're going to do some teachings for the tents of Israel. talking about Israel and why Yeshua came and all of that kind of stuff. And,
Excellent question.
we'll try to get David a permanent chiclet though, so you don't have to see that gap there in his tooth. Do what?
His teeth are social distancing.
Oh, his teeth are social distancing.
Oh.
Okay, we may let him keep it.
Come on.
We're just. He just recently lost his tooth, so we're trying to give him a hard time.
Took 50 years.
Last time we talked about that brush fire of a beard he's got going on there. I'm thinking one of these lights are going to spark that thing one of these days. This is going to go. Poof.
Just hating. Just jealous because you can't do it.
When all of that, hey, somebody should have brought a fire in here today. Because when we start talking about hell, David's beard could have went up. gave you a visual aid of what's going to happen to you if you sin and you're away from Yahweh. So, anyways, we're gonna do a bunch of these types of teachings later on, and over different topics like we did today. Hopefully, some of this has helped you and didn't confuse you too bad. If I did, comment on this video, share it with everybody you can share it with. Hopefully everybody knows about Rumble now. You need to go to Rumble and watch this video. Everybody, I'm trying to exit from YouTube. I'm trying to exit from Facebook. I want to make a mass exodus away from all these places that are trying to limit our speech, where I can't talk about the habby jabby stabby and all of that kind of stuff. Because I want to talk about that stuff.
Well, I just put you on the block.
Yeah, I probably just got a demerit right there. So I want to talk about that stuff, and I want to talk about it freely so we can all have legitimate conversations with it. So join us next Shabbat, or next Rev Shabbat, for the next Tents of Israel. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If there's something that I didn't clear up here today, put it in the comments and I'll try to answer it. Sometimes these things get away from me, so if I don't answer you right away, know it wasn't intentional. I probably answered your question answering somebody else, or just so kind of read through the comments.
Speaking of comments, please be courteous to each other and understand that we're all on different levels.
Yeah,
there's a lot of arguing and fighting going on. And
yeah, if you want to attack anybody, attack me and David. I mean,
I can take.
We're ugly. He needs a chicklet. I mean, whatever you want to say, we're good with that. Just don't attack each other. We're the one putting this information out. So share it with everybody you can. Love you. Shalom, shalom. See you next Shabbat.
Shalom.